Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services, a premier institution for preparing for civil services in India. Today, I am here for a daily news and editorial analysis for 17th and 19th of February 2024. And this editorial analysis is going to be important for all three stages of UPSC, which are UPSC prelims, mains and interview process. And apart from UPSC exam, this editorial analysis will be helpful for all government exams in India. So without further delay, let us begin the analysis.
The following are our conclusions. A. The electoral bond scheme, the proviso to section 29C(1) of the Representation of the People Act 1951, as amended by section 137 of the Finance Act 2017, section 182(3) of the Companies Act, as amended by section 154 of the Finance Act 2017, and section 13(A)(b), as amended by section 11 of the Finance Act 2017, are violative of Article 19(1)(a) and unconstitutional. And B. The deletion of the proviso to section 182(1) of the Companies Act, permitting unlimited corporate contributions to political parties, is arbitrary and violative of Article 14. We consequently issue the following directions. A. The issuing bank shall herewith stop the issuance of electoral bonds.
Recently, the 5-judge bench of Supreme Court of India held the electoral bond scheme in India as unconstitutional, and in this context, this news becomes important from UPSC prelims perspective and also for the GS2 of UPSC mains. And under GS2, the syllabus that this news falls under is the transparency and accountability and the government policies and interventions. The point of discussion of this topic is going to be the context of the news, why this topic was in news. We'll discuss what is the ruling of Supreme Court of India, then we'll understand about the electoral bonds and its provisions in India, then we'll discuss the PYQ that has been asked from the similar topic. So without further ado, let us begin the analysis. As we just discussed, the 5-judge Constitution Bench of Supreme Court of India unanimously struck down the provisions of electoral bond schemes. And the Supreme Court declared all the amendments that were brought to bring the electoral bond schemes in India as unconstitutional. For instance, to bring the electoral bond scheme in India, Government of India had made the amendments in Finance Act of 2017, Representation of People Act of 1951 and the Income Tax of 1961 and also the Companies Act of 2013. So these acts of Parliament of India were amended to bring the electoral bond scheme in India. And all the amendments made under these acts for bringing the electoral bond scheme in India were held to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court in the ruling held that the electoral bond scheme violated the fundamental right to information that has been guaranteed under Article 19, subclause 1A of the Constitution of India. So the right to information as per the Supreme Court of India has been violated. For this reason, Supreme Court of India struck down the electoral bond scheme. So these are the important takeaways from the Supreme Court judgments. Now let us understand more about the rulings of the Supreme Court of India regarding the electoral bond scheme. The Supreme Court of India, while ruling on the electoral bond scheme, held that the various changes made under the different acts of Parliament as unconstitutional. The section 29C of the Representation of People Act 1951 had mandated that all the political financings beyond 20,000 should be brought under the public disclosure norms. But the Finance Act of 2017 held that the political donations beyond 20,000 are also exempted from the public disclosure norms. So this provision of Finance Act of 2017 was held to be unconstitutional by Supreme Court because it impacts the transparency and the privacy of the people. So the right to privacy would be affected by this Finance Act of 2017. So the Supreme Court of India basically reinstated the provision of section 29C of the Representation of People Act. So this is an important provision. The Supreme Court of India also reinstated the section 182 of the Companies Act of 2013, and the section 182 of the Companies Act of 2013 restricted the corporate donations because this imposed a cap of 7.5% of the average profits of the preceding 3 fiscal years. So that means a political donation beyond the 7.5% of the average profits in the last 3 years was prohibited in India as per the section 182 of the Companies Act of 2013. But this section 182 of the Companies Act of 2013 was struck down by the Finance Act of 2017, and this removed the cap and disclosure obligations of the corporate donations. That means the companies and individuals now could donate more than 7.5% of their profits. And this provision was brought about the Finance Act of 2017. And the Supreme Court of India again nullified this provision of the Finance Act of 2017, because as per the Supreme Court of India, this provision would lead to unchecked corporate influence in the political parties. So this is the reason why Supreme Court of India struck down the provision that was made by this Finance Act of 2017. And also the Supreme Court of India reinstated the Section 182 of the Companies Act of 2013. And so far as the amendments brought under the Income Tax Act of 1961, the Section 13A subclause B of the Income Tax of 1961 provided that the maintenance of records for contributions beyond 20,000. So the banks or the political parties were required to maintain the record of the political financings beyond 20,000 rupees as per the Section 13A subclause B of the Income Tax of 1961. But this provision was also nullified by the Finance Act of 2017, and this Finance Act of 2017 exempted the electoral bond contributions from record keeping requirements. So as per the electoral bond scheme, record beyond the 20,000 rupees were also not required to be kept. So this provision was again held to be unconstitutional by Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court of India held that the amendment brought about by the Finance Act was against the voters' right to information. So right to information, as we discussed under Article 19(1) of the Constitution of India, was violated by the Finance Act of 2017. So these were the important rulings of the Supreme Court of India so far as the electoral bond scheme is concerned. Now let us understand about the electoral bond scheme. What is it and what are the provisions of the electoral bond scheme? Electoral bonds are basically the financial instruments for making anonymous donations to the political parties. So all the donations made under the electoral bond scheme to the political parties are kept anonymous, because as per the argument of Government of India, if the donor's information is disclosed, then that donor might be harassed by the opposing political party to which he had not donated. So for this reason, the right to privacy of the donors might be affected, and that will lead to violation of right to privacy under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. So that was one of the argument of the Government of India. And talking about the electoral bonds in India, electoral bonds are issued in the multiples of 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh and 1 crore rupees without any maximum limit. So there is no maximum limit under the electoral bond schemes in India. And the State Bank of India is the authorized bank to encash and issue these electoral bonds in India. And the validity of these electoral bonds are 15 days from the date of issuance of these bonds. And the donations made under the electoral bond schemes enjoyed the 100% tax exemption. So no tax would be imposed for the donations made under the electoral bonds. So far as the eligibility to receive the electoral funds are concerned, only the political parties which are registered under Section 29A of the Representation of People Act and the parties which have secured not less than 1% of total votes polled in the last elections to the Lok Sabha or the state legislative assemblies are eligible to receive the electoral bond financing. So these are the important criteria for receiving funds under the electoral bond scheme, and these are the important facts related to the electoral bond scheme, and this is important for prelims perspective. You need to remember all the facts related to the electoral bond scheme for the UPSC prelims exam. Now let us look at the UPSC Civil Services PYQ that has been asked from the similar topic. UPSC in 2018 asked a simple question related to right to privacy in India, and the question was, right to privacy is protected as an intrinsic part of right to life and personal liberty. Which of the following in the Constitution of India correctly and appropriately imply the above statement? So this question basically about the article which relates to right to privacy. This is a pretty simple question. So comment your answer in the comment section. Before I move on to another topic of discussion for today, I have a good news for you. Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services is conducting a free online mock test on 25th of February from 11 AM to 1 PM. And the name of this mock test series is Prelims Mirror. And the most important feature of this mock test is that the top 3 rankers would be given access to 49 high quality mock tests prepared by the experts from the Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services, and top 4th to top 10th rankers would be given access to the top 10 high quality mock tests prepared by the Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. And this is a golden opportunity for you all, and you should not miss this opportunity. You can register yourself by scanning the QR code given here, and you can also register yourself by clicking in the link given in the description section. Apart from prelims mirror test, those who are preparing for UPSC CSE 2024, NISCEI All India Test Series program of Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services is a must attempt for all, because this test has 49,000 high quality questions prepared by the Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services, and also this test series has the recorded discussions on these tests. And the most important part of this NISCEI All India Test Series program is that the money will be refunded if the students finds the test to be unsatisfactory. So this NISCEI All India Test Series program is must attempt for all, and you can register yourself by scanning the QR code given here, and you can also go through the details of this test in the description section. Now without further delay, let us begin the analysis of the next news. Recently, 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest in Odisha has been declared as the biodiversity heritage site in Odisha. In this regard, this topic becomes important for prelims perspective. The point of discussion of this topic is going to be 𝐤𝐸𝐴 cave, 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest and the biodiversity heritage sites. Now without further delay, let us begin the analysis. As we just discussed, the context of this news is that the government of Odisha has declared the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest in Koraput district as the 4th biodiversity heritage site in Odisha, and other 3 biodiversity heritage sites of Odisha are Mandasuru, which is located in Kandhamal district in Odisha, Mahendragiri, which is located in Gajapati district, and Gandhamardhan biodiversity heritage site, which is located in Barga and Bolangir districts. So these are the 3 biodiversity heritage sites which were already located in Odisha. Now that means there are 4 biodiversity heritage sites in Odisha. So this is the context of the news. Now let us understand about the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest and the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 caves. 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest is important because there are many sacred groves which are traditionally revered by the local communities, and the Dongaria Kond and the Parajas are the main tribes that live in the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest, and the Vamsadhara river is the main river that flows into the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest. So you need to know about the tribes that reside in the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest and the river that flows into it. And there is 𝐤𝐸𝐴 cave located in 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest, and this 𝐤𝐸𝐴 cave is a cave which is dedicated to the Lord Shiva, and it is a Hindu cave shrine located inside the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest in the Koraput district of Odisha, and it is named after Lord Shiva, also known as the 𝐤𝐸𝐴. So the 𝐤𝐸𝐴 cave is basically dedicated to Lord Shiva. So these are the important facts related to 𝐤𝐸𝐴 forest and 𝐤𝐸𝐴 cave. Now let us understand about the biodiversity heritage sites in India. So far as the biodiversity heritage sites are concerned, they are declared by the state government by consulting with the local bodies. The criteria for declaring biodiversity heritage sites are that the richness of wild and domesticated species. So they should be rich in the wildlife and domesticated species. They should have the high level of endemism. So there should be high level of endemic species as well. There should be presence of keystone rare and threatened species, and the wild ancestors of domestic cultivated species also should be there, and the past preeminence of biological components represented by fossil beds and having significant cultural, ethical and aesthetic values. So these are the important criteria for declaring the biodiversity heritage sites in India. And as we just discussed, the section 37 of Biological Diversity Act of 2002 provides that the state government declares the biodiversity heritage sites in India by consulting with the local bodies. And the purpose is to enhance the quality of life of the local communities through conservation of such sites. So the biodiversity heritage sites aims to conserve the quality of life of the local people. And so far as the management of the biodiversity heritage sites are concerned, the state government together with the central government frames rules for the management of biodiversity heritage sites in India. So these are the important provisions of biodiversity heritage sites of India. Now let us look at the practice question from this topic. So this is the practice question, and the question is: recently 𝐤𝐸𝐴 cave has been frequently seen in the news. It is located in. So this is a pretty simple question, we just discussed it. So comment the answer of this question in the comment section. Now let us move into another topic of discussion for today. Recently, the joint European Taurus, that is JET nuclear fusion reactor in UK, achieved a significant production in nuclear fusion energy. In this context, this news becomes important from UPSC prelims perspective and also for GS3 of the UPSC mains. And under GS3, this topic falls under the science and technology developments and their application and effects in everyday life. So this is the syllabus for GS3, and the point of discussion of this topic is going to be the context of the news, why this topic was in news. We'll understand about the joint European Taurus JET, we'll understand about the tokamaks and India's involvement in nuclear fusion reaction. So without further delay, let us begin the analysis. So as we just discussed, the main context of this news is that the European researchers at the joint European Taurus, that is JET in UK, achieved a significant breakthrough in nuclear fusion, generating a record-breaking 69 megajoules of energy from just 0.2 milligrams of fuel. So this is a huge amount of energy that was released by JET, and this achievement marks the largest amount of energy ever produced by the fusion experiment. So this is so far the highest amount of energy produced by any nuclear fusion reactor on earth. So for this reason, this topic becomes important from UPSC perspective. Now what is JET? JET is basically a large tokamak, the first device to achieve the controlled fusion power using the deuterium and tritium. So JET is basically the first fusion reactor that achieved the controlled fusion. So this point is important. And as we just discussed, JET is basically a tokamak, and tokamak are the machines that confine the plasma using the magnetic fields in a donut shape. So tokamaks basically collect the energy or the plasma released by the nuclear fusion reaction. So these are the JET and the tokamaks. Now let us discuss more about this topic. So this is the schematic of how nuclear fusion reaction takes place, and in the nuclear fusion reaction, two lighter molecules combine to form the larger molecule. So deuterium and tritium combines to form helium, and energy is released and neutrons are also released, and that energy released, which is plasma, is confined in the tokamak. So this is the tokamak, which is a donut shaped boxes, and these tokamaks confine the plasma, and these plasma heats up the water, which releases steam, and steam rotates the machines. So this is how the nuclear fusion reaction and the energy conversion takes place in tokamak. So tokamak is a machine that confines plasma using magnetic fields. So we just discussed about it. So these are the tokamaks, and this is how the nuclear fusion reaction takes place. So hydrogen atoms are heated, fusion reaction is done, helium neutron and energy is released, and finally the neutron energy heats up the water, and that heated water produces steam, and that steam drives the turbine. So this is how the energy is produced from the nuclear fusion reaction. So these are the process how the nuclear fusion reaction takes place. Now let us understand about the India's involvement in the nuclear fusion process. So far as the India's involvement in nuclear fusion is concerned, India is a member of ITR, which is the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, which is ITR project, and India joined this organization in 2005, and the ITR is a global initiative aimed at constructing the largest tokamak reactor in the world. So ITR so far is the world's largest nuclear fusion reactor, and the members of this ITR includes China, European Union, India, Japan, South Korea, Russia and the United States. So the members becomes important from UPSC prelims perspective. And the India also has Institute of Plasma Research, which is IPR. The Institute of Plasma Research is an autonomous institute under the Department of Atomic Energy. So this is very important. This falls under the Department of Atomic Energy, not the Department of Science and Technology. So UPSC particularly asks about the departments or the ministry under which the particular organization falls. So you need to remember the departments under which the Institute of Plasma Research falls. So this Institute of Plasma Research also leads the India's nuclear fusion reaction. So these are the important points regarding the involvement of India in nuclear fusion reaction. Now let us move into another topic of discussion for today. Recently, the Weimar Triangle was in news, and this news becomes important from GS2, that is global groupings in UPSC mains perspective, and this topic is also important from UPSC prelims perspective. And the point of discussion of this topic is going to be the context of the news, why this topic was in news. We'll understand about it. We'll understand what is Weimar Triangle and the aims of the Weimar Triangles. Now let us discuss this topic in details. So talking about the context of this news, Poland, France and Germany have recently pledged to strengthen the Europe's security and defense capabilities by reviving the Weimar Triangle, and the Weimar Triangle is basically a security and cooperation organization between the France, Poland and Germany. And the Weimar Triangle mainly aims at enhancing the cooperation among these three countries, and the Weimar Triangle was established in 1991, which aims to foster cooperation between these three countries. And the group derives its name from the Weimar, which is located in Germany, because the Germany was the place where the inaugural session of this Weimar Triangle was held. So these were the important facts and details related to the Weimar Triangle. Now let us discuss more into details about this topic. So this is the map of Europe, and you can see France, Germany and Poland here. So these three places makes an Weimar Triangle, and the Weimar Triangle basically is a forum of cooperation, and the cooperation includes the political dialogue, cooperation on the regional education, academic fields, and other dimensions are also there, for instance health, education, etc. So this is the map of Weimar Triangle, and you need to know all the places which surrounds the France, Germany and Poland, and this topic is important from mapping in UPSC prelims as well. Now let us understand about the objectives of the Weimar Triangle. So far as the objectives of the Weimar Triangle is concerned, the main goal of this Weimar Triangle was to support the Poland's transition to the democracy from communism, because Poland was a communist country before, and the Weimar Triangle basically aimed at transition of Poland from communism to democracy and to place the market economy in Poland. So these were the important objectives of the Weimar Triangle, and the most important objective is to facilitate the integration of the Poland to the European Union and NATO. So basically through the Weimar Triangle's negotiations, Poland became the member of NATO and the European Union. So these were the important objectives of the Weimar Triangle, and the emergence of Weimar Triangle recently is the fear of Trump coming in power in US, because Trump has demanded more from NATO, and the European Union and the Weimar Triangle countries wants to make themselves secure in their own. So these were the important facts related to the Weimar Triangle, and this was also the last topic of discussion in today's daily news and editorial analysis. And today as well I have got an important quote of the day for you, and let us look at the quote that I have got for you. So far as the environmental movements in India is concerned, the name of the Sundarlal Bahuguna, who led the 𝐂𝐥𝐿 movement in India, is indispensable, and he gave this important quote related to the ecology and environment. The quote is, "Ecology is permanent economy." So we have to respect our ecology, because ecology has indirect or direct impact on the economy of our country. So we have to protect our ecology to boost our economy. So that was all for today. We'll meet again in next video. Thank you. Take care.